Have you ever met someone who always needs to be the center of attention? Someone who can never admit they're wrong. Someone who seems incredibly confident on the outside, but somehow leaves everyone around them feeling exhausted, confused, or even worthless. Maybe you've worked with them. Maybe you've dated them. Maybe they're a family member. Or perhaps you've wondered whether some of these traits exist inside yourself. The truth is, narcissism is one of the most misunderstood psychological concepts in modern society. Most people think narcissists simply love themselves too much, but psychology suggests something far more surprising. Many narcissists don't actually love themselves at all. In fact, beneath the arrogance, superiority, and constant need for validation often lies something much deeper, a fragile sense of self. And once you understand this, narcissistic behavior begins to make much more sense.
The hidden paradox of narcissism. At first glance, narcissists appear confident. They talk about their achievements, they seek admiration, they want recognition. They often act as if they are smarter, more talented, or more important than everyone else. But psychologists have discovered an interesting paradox. Genuine confidence doesn't need constant proof. A truly secure person doesn't spend every day trying to convince others of their value. Think about it. A millionaire doesn't walk into every room announcing how rich he is. A skilled musician doesn't constantly remind everyone of their talent. People who genuinely know their worth rarely need to advertise it. The constant search for validation often reveals an internal insecurity, and this is where narcissism begins. The fragile ego. Imagine a house built on weak foundations. From the outside, it may look beautiful, but underneath, it's unstable. Many narcissistic personalities develop a similar psychological structure. Deep inside, they carry feelings of inadequacy, shame, rejection, or emotional wounds. Instead of facing these painful feelings, they construct a grand image of themselves, an image that says, "I am superior, I am special, I am better than everyone else." This image becomes a psychological shield, a defense mechanism designed to protect them from confronting painful emotions. But maintaining that shield requires constant reinforcement. And that's why narcissists often depend heavily on admiration from others. Without external validation, their carefully constructed self-image begins to crack. Imagine two coworkers. Both receive criticism from their boss. The first person thinks, "That hurts, but maybe I can improve." The second person immediately becomes angry. They blame others. They deny responsibility. They claim the criticism is unfair. Why the difference? The criticism itself wasn't the problem. The threat to their self-image was. For someone with strong narcissistic traits, admitting mistakes feels psychologically dangerous, because if they are wrong about one thing, they fear they might not be as exceptional as they believe, and that possibility is deeply uncomfortable. Why narcissists often hurt other people. One of the most painful aspects of narcissism is the effect it has on relationships. Many narcissists struggle with empathy, not because they are necessarily evil, but because their attention is often focused inward. They're constantly managing their own image, protecting their ego, seeking validation, avoiding feelings of vulnerability. As a result, other people's emotions can become secondary. This is why relationships with narcissists often follow a predictable pattern. At first, they may shower someone with attention, praise them, make them feel special. But once the relationship becomes stable, the admiration decreases, criticism increases, manipulation may appear. The other person slowly begins questioning their own reality. Many victims describe feeling emotionally drained without fully understanding why. The social media age. Modern society has created an environment where narcissistic tendencies can easily grow. Social media rewards attention, visibility, status, approval. Every like, comment, and follower count can become a small dose of validation. Of course, using social media doesn't make someone a narcissist, but it does create a culture where external approval becomes increasingly important. People begin measuring their worth through numbers. How many people liked my photo? How many views did I get? How much attention am I receiving? The danger is that self-worth becomes outsourced to strangers. And when self-worth depends entirely on external validation, emotional stability becomes fragile. The most important insight.
Perhaps the most important thing to understand is this. Narcissism is often less about self-love and more about self-protection. Behind many narcissistic behaviors is a person desperately trying to avoid feelings of inadequacy. This doesn't excuse harmful behavior. People are still responsible for how they treat others. But understanding the psychology allows us to see the human being behind the behavior. And sometimes, understanding is more powerful than judgment.
The lesson isn't simply to identify narcissists around us. The deeper lesson is to examine ourselves. Because all human beings crave validation to some degree. All of us enjoy praise. All of us want to feel important. The question is, does our sense of worth come from who we are or from what other people think of us? The more our identity depends on external approval, the more vulnerable we become. True confidence is different. True confidence doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need constant recognition. It comes from knowing your value even when nobody is watching. The psychology of narcissism teaches us something profound about human nature. The loudest confidence is not always the strongest confidence. The biggest ego is not always the healthiest ego. And sometimes the people who appear the most self-obsessed are actually fighting the deepest insecurities. Because real strength isn't found in proving your worth to the world. It's found in no longer needing to.